Like Westville Correctional Facility, South Bend Reentry Center is state-run, which means they follow the IDOC's cookie-cutter approach in rehabilitating offenders. So a few individuals come out ready to go, but others crumble before getting a real second chance. While the South Bend Center provides valuable support through work release and educational programming, it doesn't mean the reentry process has been perfect or fair for the guys. It's important to share the whole story, and what Andre says reflects how they all feel.
At the end of the day, my main priority is not only for myself, but to help a lot of these guys to go home. And sometimes you gotta give an ugly truth and a beautiful lie.
And these guys certainly won't lie. When I talked to Haji, he did not hold back.
Well, the reentry process as a whole is trash. And that's verbatim how Haji Bayan said it. It's trash.
All right.
And I'm gonna tell you why it's trash.
Financial insecurity, housing instability, and poor mental health care are just some obstacles marking the reentry process, along with the IDOC's lack of concern for recidivism and public safety. During the mid-70s, the U.S. criminal justice system shifted to a more crime control model, which values the suppression of crime over fairness or accuracy. For example, police would rather lock up someone who probably committed a crime rather than spending additional time on an investigation. The goal is to find crime and keep perpetrators behind bars. As a result, people have been funneled into correctional facilities at a higher rate. The system embraces and even rewards the tough-on-crime mentality.
It seemed like everywhere else I was at, as far as the incarceration process, these people were so anti-offender. It was crazy. You know, they want a person to stay in prison, and I guess that's job security for them. But I mean, at the same time, it's like, man, you know, come on, I'm a person just like you. You know, we're here.
If efficiency within the criminal justice system means locking all offenders behind bars, the system has no incentive to reduce recidivism. When a past inmate reoffends, a return to prison signals the success of this goal. Without evidence-based reentry resources like housing support, job training, or health treatment, returning citizens often experience strain that increases their chances of reoffending.
One of the challenging things is going back and being back into an institution that you know that anything that you could possibly do could get you sent back. That's one of the challenging things that I've noticed since I've been there.
The same people who law officials previously deemed a threat to the public will return home eventually. Without addressing the root causes of crime, the IDOC fails to preserve public safety.
I wish they knew that it is a very important part of public safety. I think it gets glossed over. I think it gets politicized because you have a number of people who come home and don't do the right thing. But I think that in order to solve a lot of the public safety issues, people are going to have to become very, very serious about reentry.
Reentry programming aims to re-socialize offenders and ease them into their community. This is why it's important for the Reentry Center to be staffed with individuals who have a love for working with people. Unfortunately, this isn't always the case. Andre mentioned how some staff at the Reentry Center cause stress instead of alleviating it.
The staff that's on and work today, it's a lack of respect, and I think that's because they got this still IDOC mentality. And not to say that you don't need it in certain instances, but I'm saying a lot of times you don't. You know, a lot of times it's like you can't do this. If you don't do this, this is gonna happen. It's like, to me, it's more punitive opposed to corrective, you know.
Staff like caseworkers, counselors, and teachers should facilitate the reentry process, but under a punitive system, they often mimic the harsh behavior of correctional officers.
I think that was a bad thing. You know, sometimes you need to have people, whether it be staff members that say they worked in the rec department or worked in some form of sociology, and you have a love for people. You know, because you come in every day and you saying you got to do this or you don't do this. You know, to me that's like it's primitive, and to me y'all not enjoying it in the process. It's like you making the process harder.
And staff behaviors are often left unchecked.
Y'all, they know who they are, you know, and they know what they do, and to me that causes a problem because it causes hostility within the work release center. And you talk to a lot of guys, they'll tell you that, you know, a lot of guys don't want to say nothing because of the threat of retaliation. That's like, you know, even with talking like this, certain people be like, oh, you know, they will find a way to get you sent back. And that don't allow people to open up the way they would if they felt that it was a safe place. You know, like a person being raped or a person being mentally or physically abused, going to a place and you want them to open up to you when they know that you don't care nothing about them. You know what I mean? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Reentry participants can feel silenced by an institution that focuses on retribution over recovery, making it much easier for the IDOC to continue their one-size-fits-a-few system.
I wish people knew the temperament of the people that are overseers, so they could really put people in those positions who are really more pliable as far as like on a case by case basis, instead of just a cookie cutter, like, oh, you did time, okay, boom, we're gonna put you in here, we're gonna do that. This is like, nah, it's like each individual is different.
One of the guys, Chris, was well aware of this issue. Even if there are stellar people hired, the IDOC can quickly burn them out. Counselors are given too heavy of caseloads, which leads to people getting left behind in an already lacking system.
Like my counselor was telling me this, like, man, I was working for them. So I was able to see like how much work they do and stuff like that, and their caseloads are heavy and all that stuff like that. And so it's like, it's hard to get to know everybody on a one-on-one basis. I was up under the state boot for so long that I had to make sure that I guarded against arrested development and all these other things. And some people wasn't conscious of some of the things that I was conscious of. So they need a little more attention. They need a little more TLC than I do. And that's the thing that I wish that people knew, that it's a case-by-case basis. So that's what I wish.
The heavy caseloads come from institutions being understaffed, which causes another problem in the reentry center, other than the lack of individualized support.
For some reason, the staffing, because a lot of times we only limited on how many people we could take to do a certain project because of the lack of resources or staff to come with us. Probably we could bring like 10 more people to, help. We probably could, but the staff is kind of short.
In many ways, the staff influences the opportunities given to inmates, and unfortunately, they can come from a place of prejudice. People report having negative experiences because they felt the staff unfairly judged them.
I've noticed too, the hiring process, how they pigeonhole like blacks in certain jobs and how they put whites in certain jobs. I don't know, it's because some of the guys are flagged, whether it was in gangs or stuff like that, but that ain't always the case. It's just that I've noticed that some of the better jobs, they don't allow the blacks to get in certain jobs, stuff like that. And like I told guys, for some of them, they might work, but once you get stereotyped in a certain way, they make it that much harder for you to get a job. So I've noticed that.
It's kind of trying just because you can see partiality, you can see just as far as like with some of the jobs and some of the pay that they like to send people to and other things like that. And then just, people have favorites. To me, it doesn't have anything to do with race, but just people's own prejudices about people that they like, don't like. He smiles a lot. He doesn't smile a lot. He stinks. He smells good.
While prejudice can go beyond race, the diversity in the reentry center staff is lacking, which certainly can contribute to a racially tense environment.
They need to be more diversified in counselors, because like I say, a lot of people feel more comfortable around people that look like them. And, I don't see a lot of that there. I have yet to see one black counselor, You mean to tell me I don't have no black qualified counselors, And, for it to be, we talk about this diversification, it's like we don't see it in your staff. So how can you say about that when it ain't in your staff,
This is where people are tested, once again, on how to interact with higher-ups.
I'm a people person, and I know when somebody don't necessarily care for me, and I know how to treat people accordingly because I can revere everybody as a human being. That doesn't mean I respect your authority or respect the way you go about speaking to people or your conduct, but I revere you as a human being. So for that, I can always treat people the right way. Yeah.
But it's not just on the men in the reentry center to know how to treat people the right way. The staff needs to match that energy in order for the process to be successful.
At the end of the day, the program is only as good as the people that participate as well as the people that help organize.
Reentering society costs money, and it can start the moment you leave prison with any outstanding charges from an individual's life before being locked up.
I was locked up for almost 3 decades. When I got out, the same fees were waiting on me when I came home. If you spend 30 years incarcerated, you get out and you still have a ticket from when you was a teenager waiting on you. I thought that was pretty ridiculous. So I ended up having to pay that ticket.
Reentry centers try to remedy these costs, but participants at the South Bend Reentry Center must contribute to the cost of their room and board, pay applicable taxes, and satisfy financial obligations in the community. Whatever money they have left is for them to accumulate savings to help them complete a successful transition to community life after completing their sentences.
I would like to see that the guys be able to keep more of their money. Some guys took the money that they made and did something with it, but what about the guys that don't? So the reentry place, they take way too much of our money. They take a whole lot of our money, and I think that if we were able to keep a lot more of our money, that'll help better prepare us too.
However, even if an individual does everything right financially, the world outside of prison still makes it difficult for them to buy anything, especially housing.
You know, I know a friend of mine right now who's having a problem with housing because of his criminal background and being in a place where he's not able to, you know, check that box or be able to say, you know, I'm an offender or I was recently, released from prison. Even though he has the money, even though he has like a 700 and some odd or 800 credit score, he still has that stigma. So
in Indiana, a person can be denied from renting or buying a place of residence because of their criminal record. Additionally, they are ineligible for fair housing protections.
The fact that a person has done time and they are released and back in society, it's like you still have this stigma and, you know, you got to get past those barriers some way or another, you know, because you still got to live.
South Bend Reentry Center alleviates this need by providing housing. But once your sentence ends, you're on your own.
Fortunate to get jobs at the reentry center, but at the same time, you know, a lot of people are not permanent residents of St. Joe, so they have to deal with going back to their own communities, and there might be some type of wall that's up for that.
Even if someone has a family with a home to rely on, they don't want to feel like a burden.
Guys like myself, I don't want to get out and have to be no burden to my mom, even though she lives in assisted living, and my sister taking care of some of her grannies and nephews.
There wasn't a, transitional facility waiting for me when I got home to say, in the event that you couldn't stay with your wife, you can stay here and work your reentry plan from here. That wasn't available for me.
What can complicate the financial and housing problems is untreated addiction and mental illness. From Haji's experience in the IDOC, drug use is treated like a criminal problem and not a mental health problem.
With me, I've had substance abuse issues. I had childhood sexual abuse issues, things of that nature, you know what I'm saying? So when I've been in the RWIs and whatever, these drug programs, whatever, from my outlook on it, from being around a lot of the guys that I've been around over the years, everybody uses drugs and they just attack the drug use, but they're not attacking the reasons.
Even though they claim to crack down on drugs, in reality, the IDOC makes them widely available to inmates.
Everything with DOC, that they just want to give you pills or give you meds or this, that, and the third one. That's not even.
They don't want to try any kind of therapy.
No, there's nothing, so it's all a facade, really.
Okay. The IDOC tends to treat with medication before cognitive behavioral treatment, which is a popular and effective form of therapy. Teaching someone to rely on drugs alone ignores the root cause of mental illness and can jeopardize sobriety.
It's bad, especially in DOC, because people will manipulate your situation and outside entities give you drugs or have you. I've seen a lot of horrible shit. So, so that's my take on that.
In order for someone to rehabilitate themselves from drug addiction, they need to address the underlying mental health issues they self-medicate for. In a pressurized environment like prison, where there are no places to truly release thoughts, feelings, emotions, drugs become an easy escape behind walls.
I just wish there were more mental health access to a lot of the guys. A lot of us have problems, just like a lot of people out in society.
Yeah.
And there's not really an outlet.
The over-medicating and under-investing in rehabilitation makes it difficult for people to address the pull of addiction.
Like I said, it's really a sham in a nutshell. So.
An intentional mindset is everything for a successful reentry.
I think it might have been Henry David Thoreau. He said that I know of no more encouraging fact than the unquestionable ability of man to elevate his life through conscious endeavor. So when you arrive at reentry, if you think it's going to be something else, you're going to be in for like a totally different thing.
Returning citizens feel the rush of freedom, but have little to no practice regulating themselves. After release, the guys admit most people quickly return to past activities.
You get out and you get convenient amnesia. And you just, because even being in reentry, I'm like, man, it's like I never left. If I'm not conscious of, one, where I still am and where I want to go, you could get lost in the sauce just like anybody else. I see how somebody could get lost in the sauce because it's this innocence of freedom. You're like, oh my God, I ain't had this much freedom and this much time. And it's just like, no, it's like you the one that gotta pace yourself about everything.
Even the most effective treatment options fail to help if the participant is unwilling to put honest work into themselves.
You can, fool everybody and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and get out, you're going to come right back, if you don't change you.
Reentry programming provides access to more opportunities, but each person has to do the work, regardless of institutional support.
This wasn't something that the correctional facility produced. These are all internal efforts and motivation.
Current releasees must accept the void of services. They reenter their communities with confidence despite the criminal justice system, not because of it.
I know the penitentiary, I know all that up and down, but I want to know, going back to college, trying to reintegrate in my kid's life and, have a constructive relationship with a woman and not being abusive. I don't want to abuse myself. You know what I'm saying? Just trying to right my wrongs and move forward.
They don't want to be exploited by the criminal justice system. They want to be free to contribute to the world, to their community.
Like, I know most people tell you just when you go home, get a little apartment, get a little car, keep your head down. Nah, don't do that. Show up asking how you can help. Look at the world. Look at the news. We're not doing that great without you out here. So it's like, so are you going to get out here and make it worse? Or are you going to get out here and make it better? So it's just like, I'm thinking like, yeah, people need me. You know, and not in an arrogant way, but just in the sense that I can help.
Yeah.
I have a whole lot to contribute. My energy is good. My work ethic is good. You know, and I'm about people.
This mindset also helps prove that you are a valuable citizen in the community, which is a big part of reentering society.
I don't have any issue with proving otherwise at all times, but some of us get this air of entitlement because even though in reality, I did earn a spot there. Like, I went to college, I graduated from the PLUS program, I got all these DOLs, I stayed out of trouble and all that stuff like that, so it should have been a for sure thing that I was there, but I know I did all that stuff for me. I didn't do it for any judge or any prosecutor. They still haven't let me out on any modification. So I was like, this got to be intrinsically motivated, not for the outside. It got to be the inside that I clean. So me, I was cool when I got there. So but other people like, I earned this, and I was like, forget what you earned. They don't really care about that. Like, you got to do it for you. So of course my mindset was gonna be different.
How do you know how to prove yourself if you got locked up so young? Not only do new inmates receive little advice about surviving their time under correctional supervision, but they receive little to no practice operating in a free society. Essentially, they grow up in an artificially constructed world where they have little to no autonomy.
Like I said, I was 19 years old, and that wall is like, it's 30 feet, but in your mind, it's 300 feet. And all you know about prison is what you see on the movies. And I'm 19 years old, I got no facial hair, I got 50 years to do, and you know you have to make it, but you don't know how.
Even with all these struggles, some people can make it with strong internal motivation.
You have to want to re-enter back into society and be a responsible tax-paying citizen. If you don't want it, you can only hide from yourself for so long. Like I said, rehabilitation is actually on you. So I don't wait on anybody to rehabilitate me. I don't wait on programs. I am proactive in my own rehabilitation. You understand me?
Yeah. With your mind clear and motivated, programs offered at the Reentry Center become portals to freedom. In the next episode, Andre, Chris, and Jerome take us through these portals into the dimension of successful reentry. This is Voices of Reentry. Narrated by Lillian Gramza, produced by Julia Martin, music by Blue Dot Sessions, cover art by Kylie Kowalski. Special thanks to Sam Burgett, the Community Change Center, and Valparaiso University's Social Action Leadership Team. And Andre, Chris, Haji, Jason, Jerome, and Raymond. Thank you.